What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of RGTP. I am your host, Lewis, and with me, as always, is my man Mamba, repping down the LSU
Of
shirt
course. Of
today, my
course.
guy. How are we doing today?
I have
Another
a
one.
busted eardrum. You just
Busted
busted my
eardrum.
eardrum. That was so loud. I wasn't expecting it to be that loud. But
There's always some audio issues going on up in this.
at least it woke me up, though. I'll say
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, it is a lovely Wednesday afternoon, night, wherever you are listening. I guess it kind of
Evening,
depends.
day,
You know what I mean?
morning,
It kind of depends. But of
everything in
course,
between. Yeah.
when it's Wednesday, we talk basketball, we talk some football, we talk some sports. There's all types of good stuff that's going on. We are waiting, see the beginning of the seasons.
And we're like
For sports, we're
13
right around the
days,
corner,
12
man. We're
days,
right around the
10.
corner, man.
Yeah.
And of course, all week long,
Is college football this Saturday?
I have
There's
no
probably
clue.
some game on this Saturday.
Potentially. I don't.
Yeah,
I
I haven't
really.
looked up college schedule at all.
I don't know. We definitely got something as everything is on the horizon as we wait for the launch of basketball and football season.
Yes.
It is going to be spectacular. But one
Agreed.
thing that we have been covering on this show for I guess the last month or so is the breakup or reunion of Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets. And we have officially gained word that after a meeting with Sean Marks, Joe Tsai, and Steve Nash out in Los Angeles, of all
Did,
places,
did they
Kevin
dance on
Durant,
TikTok?
Kevin Durant and Rich Kleiman decided to have a sit down and rescind their trade request and plan on sticking with the Brooklyn Nets. Mamba, first reaction on Kevin Durant is back in Brooklyn. And what does this mean for the rest of the East?
I'm glad it's over, honestly. We multiple weeks, Celtics, Heat, Sixers, maybe.
Phoenix for a
Oh,
while
trade
there.
him to the Jazz for Donovan Mitchell. Screw it, right? What does it mean for the Nets? It means that the people that committed to their team is actually committing to their team, right? There were some reports about Ben Simmons potentially playing the center position this year, which that would be a little. I mean, he doesn't shoot. He might not be that presence that you would want from a center in the paint, like a Rudy Gobert, a Miles Turner, Jarrett Allen, But Ben Simmons can guard. We know he can guard at least. And then Kevin Durant, man, he's a shooter.
Kevin Durant's
He's a
Kevin Durant,
scorer.
man.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna come in, and we were talking about it last night. One of our people's asked us MVP. You had said Giannis before, but last
Yes,
night it
I did.
was
The narrative, man. It's always a narrative story. It starts going that way. People start pushing narratives. I don't know. Maybe LeBron could even come up and they missed the playoffs. All of a sudden, here comes LeBron.
right.
He's having a 25 and 10 if he goes back to just fully running point guard. And it's true, Westbrook's supposed to be this. The LeBron narrative.
Yep.
It is going to be interesting. But with everything that's going on around this team, narrative for Kevin Durant might be something, especially if they have, like we also discussed, a really good season, which could very well happen. Kevin Durant redemption tour, maybe. I don't know. He might just be trying to get his get back. But it's going to be very interesting. We have some roster additions around this team. Obviously, Kyrie Irving opted back in and is staying. How long? I don't know. Are we looking
At
at a
least this
potential
year.
trade mid-season,
Yep.
maybe coming up
Oh.
the All-Star break? If things
I
aren't
think
working out
only
there.
way mid-season trade happens is Kyrie literally has to not be playing, or it's gotta be he's gotta have some story to tell them for why he can't play for them to be like, we're done with you, bro. And maybe even if Westbrook is playing to a certain potential that you would want to see out of what Westbrook could give, maybe they look at that like, okay, if he can come over here and do that, we can move on from Kyrie. But him and KD, I know they might have patched a few things up. Yep. I don't know if they're ready to play together, and you really don't know how that would work
We'll
out
see,
for them.
because we got Ben Simmons lying in the wing, potential center, point guard, point center, small forward, power forward, still trying to figure out his position. Are the shooting woes and fear of shooting out of his system yet? It's going to be a big thing, obviously, of course. And then, of course, all the additions, bringing back Patty Mills and Seth Curry back into the rotation, bringing back in a healthy Joe Harris for this season's run will help out. And then adding some wings, veteran
TJ
wings.
Warren,
Bubble
Royce
TJ Warren
O'Neal,
and Royce O'Neal right off the alley for this team as they're going to try to make a push. But where do they rank amongst the top 6 or 7? Because I think the top 4 is clear cut. We have Boston, we have Miami, we have the Bucks, and we have the 76ers and some lurking teams. I'm looking at Atlanta, who just made a trade to try to build up some chemistry. Chicago is a team that didn't pan out as great as everybody thought, but they're of course on the come up. We saw Cleveland take leaps and bounds. We know
they're
what goes
also
on
in Donovan Mitchell rumors now
we
too.
know what goes on up in the north in Toronto with Nick Nurse and all them lengthy boys. I mean, where does these Nets rank? Obviously, we just named out some of the additions. They still have Kevin Durant, top 3 player in the world. Kyrie Irving, top 5
I think that
point
can
guard.
be argued. If we're being all, I think KD top 3 in the world, top 3 in the NBA can definitely be argued. And I think there's maybe more people now that will take him out of the top 3 because of everything that transpired on, this offseason.
But nonetheless, how does this look for the landscape? Like, where do they match up out here? We just named off about 7 or 8 teams that they will be playing throughout the season, and they got first rounded by Boston in 4 games. I mean,
Boston, bro, and they didn't have. They thought Ben Simmons was gonna play for him, and then apparently he ghosted him. Like, they figure out the chemistry if they can get their defense somewhat relevant, right? And that's their center position. That paint, it really does look like you can feast on this team in the paint. And for a team that has Joel, Jokic, Cat and Gobert together, like it can be tough. Ben Simmons can maybe work there, maybe he can lock him up. He might not block him like you would expect, like Bam Adebayo to do, but he can keep up with them. He can outrun a center,
Of course.
I would give them, if everything works out in their favor and everything works, no doubt in my mind they're a top 14. But I will say at least 5th seed.
At least 5th seed.
At least 5th seed.
They'll be floating as a top 5 team. We're going to have to wait and see what else this offseason holds. There might be some more shifts out in the East. We talked about, as you just mentioned, Donovan Mitchell being linked to the Cleveland Cavaliers could potentially.
How high would that bring the Cavs up for you?
I don't know. On paper, people will probably want to jump on that and be like, "Oh, it's going to be a top team." But we talked about this
smaller
with Chicago.
Guards, defense.
We talked about this with Chicago. Was a prime example last year. All summer long in the party on PlayStation, we were geeking out about the Chicago Bulls. We're talking about 50 wins, 55 wins.
They were close.
We're talking all this nonsense.
They got to the playoffs.
Getting all hyped up about the Chicago Bulls, and it didn't plan out. So not always bringing a collection of talent always works out. We see that in sports. It's really it's something because Donovan Mitchell absolutely fits in the time frame of what Cleveland has, but it's all a matter of how much is it actually going to work out. Atlanta's another team we're going to have to look out. If those teams don't falter out, then hey, the Nets are going to be coasting, and probably with just KD and Kyrie, depending on what transpires with Ben Simmons. But again, another year. Actually, I guess for the last 3 or 4 years, a team's championship hopes fall yet again on the back and brain of Ben Simmons. So it's going to be tough to see, but we'll be on the lookout for all types of NBA news as we all continue with the sweeping headlines from Saturday night. Not only did Usman get kicked in the face,
did you see that kick, bro?
Final 55 seconds. As the commentators are talking about, this is a moral victory for Leon Edwards. It is all right. It's no shame. And he says, headshot, boom.
Right.
Kick straight to the jaw. Lays Usman out, arguably pound for pound. Best fighter in the world for the last 2 or 3 years now. And wow. What a
Yeah.
spectacle that
Hey,
was.
we might
But
not talk UFC, but we definitely be watching it sometime.
you know what I mean? Earlier on in the day, we had
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski and the Gronk cast, which seems to be a big thing. We obviously had the Manning cast. Anyone familiar with Pat McAfee and the boys on the PMS show?
So great.
They will be doing college football games with Omaha Productions. So everyone seems to be getting their foot in the door of broadcasting, doing some sort of
Yep.
watch along thing. And who better than the party animal himself, Rob Gronkowski, and that nutty ass family? And who else better to talk and be on the UFC? I believe it's 258 pre-show watch
278.
along. There we go. Talk along. Then
Not
Dana
one
White.
of those.
Oh, and did Dana White ever drop a bombshell on us?
He always does that.
You know how it goes. We heard reports that Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady were set to be Las Vegas Raiders. Brady was looking for houses, apparently. And then John Gruden comes in, says he doesn't want him, doesn't need him, sticks with Derek Carr. We obviously know how that transpired. We didn't quite know the name. Brady went on LeBron James Barbershop and said, I can't believe they decided to stick with that motherfucker. And everybody was trying to figure out, was it Tua in Miami? Was it
Drew
the
Brees in New
49ers? Was it Drew
Orleans.
Brees? Was it Jimmy G with the Niners?
Yeah.
Was it, Herbert? Like, who is
Phillip
it?
Rivers.
Tannehill?
Rivers
Phillip
was rumored.
Rivers?
Yo.
You know what I mean? Like, where was it that he was going to go? Who is this motherfucker? And now it looks like it was potentially Derek Carr, who us here on the show have personally became fan of over the
Shout out Derek.
tumultuous season that he had last year, dealing with John Gruden and Henry Ruggs, and then willing the team to the playoffs, interim coach, all of that. But wow, Brady and Gronk were almost Raiders. Next to Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. Some interesting weapons, although I think we can all agree it probably worked out for the best for Brady and Gronk to go down in Tampa Bay. But what the hell
Hold
could
on.
have been the AFC
If we're
West?
thinking about it, though, Tampa Bay was for sure the right decision for him because he already had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Bray. And just looking at that Raiders offense from then, they had some nice pieces, but they weren't ready to go anywhere like that Tampa team was. Tampa, they had the veterans, they had the pieces. As we saw the first year, they go win a Super Bowl and they almost make it back to it. I would say at least playoffs, at least for sure playoffs behind the Chiefs.
Think about what the AFC West would have been. Mahomes, then Herbert would have been in there, mixing it up. And does Russ still land over there?
Does Devontae still
do they
get
still
traded?
try to get Devontae? Like,
or
wow.
does Devontae go where Derek Carr goes?
I don't know. And that brings me to another point of what would have happened with Derek Carr. Does that mean Derek Carr could have potentially been a New England Patriot?
Does he right?
Could
I
he
would
have been
loved him on
just straight quarterback swapped and been a New England Patriot? Are we looking at Carr in a number 4 blue Patriots jersey, or are we potentially looking at a New Orleans? Are we potentially looking at another team out there like the Jets, maybe making a move?
No, maybe not Seahawks because they had Russ at the time.
There's a lot of things. Would Tua still be down in Miami?
Right.
I mean, what could have happened if Derek Carr just all of a sudden becomes available? Because Tom Brady walks into Las Vegas and is now the head honcho of the building.
Do you remember when McDaniels was signed to the Raiders and there was rumors that they were working on an extension, but they couldn't really work it out because he didn't know if he wanted to commit to Carr? Do you think maybe there's still the issues where McDaniels is like, I don't know if we can get a lot out of him. This is Tom Brady we're talking about. We're getting a guy who had one really good year and then, maybe, but that's too much speculation, right? That's too much. He comes to the Saints, we win a Super Bowl. I'm telling you that. Probably not, but, it would have been better if we had him as a healthy starting quarterback. any team, I think any team without an established quarterback, obviously, would be all right with Derek Carr being their starting quarterback. And if you're choosing him over Tom Brady, younger quarterback, Super Bowl. I'm going with the Super Bowl, bro.
Yeah, but you
John
never
Gruden
know
was like, yeah,
what was
no,
going on.
no.
That Raiders team wasn't looking so hot. Who knows how they would if they would have came out of the AFC West? It definitely would have been interesting. But
at least second seed behind Mahomes.
it
I'm not
definitely
saying
would've been
second
something.
seed overall, but it definitely behind the Chiefs. That
I
Chiefs
hear it.
team's stupid.
I definitely would have switched up the landscape quite a bit.
Would Jameis still be in Tampa?
The NFC South would be totally different.
Bro, would Taysom Hill be the starting quarterback
Yes.
of the Saints? Oh,
and you guys would have
been
been number one in your division last season and
bro.
the year before. Yes, a
Taysom
lot
Hill isn't
changes.
a quarterback because of John Gruden, bro. Wow.
It all goes back to
Taysom,
John
now
Gruden.
you know who to go after, bro.
Exactly.
Now you know.
It is all John Gruden saying, no, I don't want him. And I mean,
I don't want a 6-time Super Bowl champion. Why would I want that on my team? No, that's stupid. Yeah.
John Gruden.
Yeah.
And we all know the shit he got into and the shit he's still going through.
Yes.
And trying to figure out all of that.
So Gronk would have went to Las Vegas with him too?
Yes.
We still see Darren Waller's emergence?
Maybe.
Does it help Darren Waller? Like,
probably.
Does it give him that extra year where it's like, okay,
Hunter Renfrow would have been the greatest version of Edelman, Hogan, Amendola ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Don't forget Welker, bro.
He was going to have a 2,000-yard season. Swear to God. It would have been over. It was over. It was over. The defense would have sucked.
He would have been
Hunter
the true
Renfrow
Cooper.
would have looked amazing. Yeah, he would have been Cooper Kupp pretty much already. Like, it would have been like, why is no one guarding Hunter Renfrow? Right. What is going on here? It could have been
the Raiders so close, but yes, so far
away. And with that, we shall continue transitioning on with NFL news because while we are on the topic of Tom Brady himself, he is in fact back in camp after 11 days away, whether that was to be on the Masked Singer or a death in the family or a trip to the Bahamas.
What?
These are all the things that have been
I saw
around.
The Masked Singer. I saw the Bahamas. I did not see the death thing out.
There was a report that maybe there was a death in the family, hence why he had to abruptly leave.
Or
there's not a lot of reasons why you would just leave.
Hear me out. The man was retired, and they were like, "Let's go on a trip. You're retired. We can do stuff now." And the man was like, about that. I'm out of retirement, guys. And then his family was probably like, but Dad, and then they were like, all right, it's preseason. Who cares? Let's just go. It's Tom Brady. You think he's really going to get rusted after a normal offseason other than him saying, yeah, I'm retired, guys?
I hear
it's okay. He can take his time.
About it. I think he'll be all right. It was probably good for him to, juice up his batteries. Sort of get himself situated.
Not juice. Wrong word. Not juice.
No. We'll see. That motherfucker playing absolutely amazing, and he's damn near 70. So I don't know anymore about Tom Brady and what he does. But anyways, Brady is back in the building. Everything is ready to go, potentially in Tampa Bay, to run it back for the third year in a row and potentially make another deep playoff run. NFC is up for grabs potentially. Stay tuned next week. We'll start dropping our over unders again, this time post preseason, so we don't look like total jackasses. Looking at you, Cincinnati. We whiffed on that one horribly. Looking at you, Giants. I whiffed
let's be honest though. Can we be honest real quick though? If we'd seen everything and then season's about to start, are we really saying, oh yeah, Cincinnati Super Bowl
probably give them more than 4 wins.
We'll give them like 5-6 wins. Joe Burrow and them, they can get it done with 6.
We probably could have moved the needle a bit, but we're locked and loaded, ready to go. Brady's back in the building. He's in your division. How are we feeling about all the Brady back in the building, man? Brady back in the building.
Injuries suck, but I'm glad his O-line is I hope they just get ran through, bro, and he gets destroyed. Simple
Poor
as
Brady.
that. Poor Brady.
Poor
I hope
Brady.
the line recovers well, though. Obviously they're enemies, but injuries suck. We all know injuries suck.
Injuries are horrible. Injuries are horrible. We'll continue around the rounds. We have a couple injuries to sadly report upon that are never feeling good. J.C. Jackson had a successful surgery on his thumb, I believe, out 2 to 4 weeks. Should
Okay.
be back with the Chargers to obviously probably miss. I mean, maybe the start, maybe first game, maybe second,
Yeah,
maybe just two
maybe
games,
we're yeah.
depending on how he comes back, which should be good as that team looks to build on an absolutely impressive 2 year campaign out of Justin Herbert. We'll see what they do
Yes.
in year three. Another news to report. Absolute stud, another defensive player. Chase Young is set to miss the first 4 games for the Washington Commanders. Missed all of last season with a blown out ACL. Sucks. Hate to see it, but another young stud that I cannot wait to get back on the field this season. Gonna provide major impact for that team at some point.
Staying away from that team's defense, though, for fantasy.
Yes, because it is a very shaky team. And then one more injury to report, sadly, was a season-ending injury for the Carolina Panthers. Their rookie quarterback, Matt Corral, will not be able to go. It has been diagnosed as some sort of a foot injury, as reported by Adam Scheffner. Mamba, how we feeling? The young kid, rookie
Bro, foot
season,
injuries. Foot injuries
not
are
able to
the
do it.
worst, bro. Foot injuries are the worst because you literally walk on that every time, and they can stay around. Like he could literally just be walking one day, and he just feels a sharp pain in his foot, and it's like, don't like that. It sucks though. But if we're being honest, I don't know how much time he would have started this year. Maybe a
Yeah.
little backup here and there because they are going for Baker Mayfield. I maybe would rather him as my backup quarterback than who their
Sam
backup
Darnold.
quarterback's going to be now. But this gives him the time to take in the games. He'll be there, on the sideline, feel the atmosphere, watch tape, bro. Just watch a lot of
Lots of
tape,
tape.
a lot of tape, and hopefully, even though you're Ole Miss, hopefully you can come back stronger than ever, bro.
The LSU guy. Look at
Yeah,
him.
of course. Yo,
Showing some
bias will always be here until I'm like putting bias aside, obviously. I can be unbiased when need be. People don't want to see that.
We
They don't want
respect
to see
it.
that.
We
Everybody's
appreciate
unbiased.
it.
Nah, bro. Let's go bias.
Of course, of course. And as we continue rounding up around the news of the NFL, as you mentioned, Baker Mayfield is the week 1 starter for the Carolina Panthers against his former team, the Cleveland Browns, led by none other than Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
As we now learned, Deshaun Watson caught an 11-game suspension. One of those, I believe he's set to come back in week 13. I believe they have a bye week in week
Yes.
8 or
12?
9,
8? Oh.
somewhere
Okay.
around there. They have a bye week. So the last final game he will be suspended, of course, will be the game before playing against Tom Brady. They don't want him on that TV screen with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, of course. But how lucky is the man that he gets to come back and play the
It ain't luck.
Houston
It
Texans
ain't luck.
of
Nah.
all these just cute little stories. Russ goes back to Seattle. Then we got Carolina
All I gotta
and
say,
Cleveland.
okay?
Like,
You
come
ready?
on,
To the
come on.
people who shit on wrestling storylines, bro, these NFL writers are going all out, all right, this season. And I'm not taking credit. There was a tweet. I cannot remember who it was, but they did it on purpose. They really did. It really feels as like it was like, well, we can't give him a full season. He's gonna sue us.
Yep.
Texans. They're playing the Texans this year. Yes.
Horrible.
I hope the Texans beat the shit out of them that week,
Hey,
bro.
we heard
I
it early.
hope it is like the least fun game to watch for these riders, and they'll be like, "We won't do that again." Yeah, you won't do that again. But
Jacksonville showed no mercy in that preseason game.
they were nah. That's Jacksonville as a whole, though. They don't show mercy at all on anything. If we're being honest, yeah. If we're being honest, they don't. Browns are probably going to stomp them out. If we're being real. Aside from the games, though, because we do play fantasy, Amari Cooper,
Of
Nick
course.
Chubb, are
Yeah.
you targeting anybody on, say, the Browns, Panthers? We mentioned the Panthers playing the Browns. Get a little insight on who are you looking at?
Amari Cooper should be the number one. Other than that, I'm not looking at anything else out of Cleveland outside of their running
Not even
backs
Chubb.
because they're probably going to be leaning towards a run game to stay away from Jacoby. It's going to be tough. We got Ice back on the track. What's going on? We are good, my guy. Glad to have you back. But yeah, I'm going Chubb, Hunt,
What about
Amari
Njoku?
Cooper. Like I don't know. Tight ends are
No.
very weird in fantasy leagues and in the way they work out in the NFL. Probably around there. DJ Moore is obviously a stud in Carolina, of course. Robbie Anderson might have a bounce back year. We'll have to wait and see. He burned a lot of people last year. And then if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, he's going to win people a ton of leagues. So, I mean.
Don't even get me started on that, man. If he's, it could literally be the last pick in the draft and that man's still sitting there. I'm spitting on my phone screen, bro.
You're so picking him. Shut up.
If it's the last pick in the draft, I will.
Steal at the last pick of the draft. But it is an interesting, just literally cinema. There's a lot of reunions and comeback stories, feel-good moments. Maybe potential feel-good moments. We'll see how it goes. We've seen Brady come back to New England before. So, I mean, it's just the way it's the way that the writing has been. It has turned into such a dramatic sport, the NFL, the way the scheduling has been lately. Of course, more big news. We had a retirement today. Shaquem Griffin, yes, retires from Jacksonville.
Yes,
all done.
Former Seahawk as well.
Yes, came from Seattle. He's done retiring. He spoke. He's on a couple shows today. Reports about him and his brother having a movie being developed. He's planning on doing some motivational speaking. Obviously, the first ever one-handed NFL player ever. And he was a linebacker, so he was literally mauling guys, wrapping dudes up.
I watched him in college. That man was a dog in college. That obviously NFL
got to work 2 times harder than everybody else.
Different level, but in college, that man showed why he deserved to be drafted. Maybe a little bit higher, but obviously it didn't work out. But dog, he was a dog.
He was. Didn't work out in Jacksonville. Had a very interesting.
Not a lot of people work out in Jacksonville, if we're being honest.
Well, yeah, Bortles went through and did,
we don't need to do this.
Had his magical season run.
No, we don't need to do this.
They were close. They were that close, those Jacksonville Jaguars, once upon a time. But he didn't quite pan out. He decided to retire. There's a lot left in the tank for him. Obviously, he only played 4 seasons in the NFL, I believe. Bright future up ahead, and I cannot agree more. The season needs to start. It's going to be banging of a season. I cannot wait. In other news, Kayvon Thibodeau is okay after the disgusting, dirty, what other things were being said? Fine.
Lock the man up.
Kick him out of the league. There was a lot going on the chop block that happened on Kayvon Thibodeau. You want to claim that? The bias want to hop in on that one?
Yes.
Mr. LSU, man.
Hey. He does what he has to do, okay? He wants to play in the NFL. He's gonna block. Was it a little low? And just a little bit. Chop blocks.
Tough.
You don't want to see it. Knee injuries, terrible. But that man blocked that man, okay? It's all he did. All he did was blocking. Nothing else.
Try to blow that man's knee away.
Nah. He just, when he came in, he lost footing. So he slipped a little bit, and it unfortunately landed right into his knee, Unfortunate.
We'll see how it is. Is obviously this Giants team continues to try to figure it out. I don't know if you caught the Brian Dable hot mic
I
with
ain't watching the
Daniel
Giants. I
Jones.
get to watch the
Uh,
Jaguars, bro.
it was a hot mic. I most definitely have to send it to you. He basically was dropping f bombs, and you can hear it on live television. He was pissed off. Didn't understand what Daniel Jones was doing. This team obviously has to figure some things out. Having
Do they
your
trade for Jimmy G?
They probably should have forever ago if that was the plan, but I don't think they just want to be tied in with all that much more money. Uh, I think they're okay with just having a bad season and ripping it
Oh,
down to
sorry,
the
Giants.
studs, pretty much. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. You obviously don't want maybe your best defensive player, or well, at least your best up and coming young
Yeah, there you
defensive
go.
player, your first round pick,
Potential.
top pick, being out for any duration of the season. Hopefully he comes back. Ice actually says, as a Bengals fan, he thought
Look at
it
that.
was clean as fuck.
Clean as
So
hell. Clean.
it's funny as you bring up Cincinnati and those Bengals. We have more to report out of Cincinnati. Obviously, we talked about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But on the flip side of the ball, Bates is back in town.
Oh, okay.
One
Good
more.
news.
So it is good news as that defense most definitely relies on him back there. As we saw, Cincinnati didn't
Don't
have the
say the
most.
other name.
We know you love Eli Apple. Trust me, I know you love you some Eli Apple. Of course, the defense wasn't and still isn't necessarily a top 10, top 50, world beating of a defense. But Cincinnati defense, Trey Hendrickson, Bates, those boys were able to lock up when it mattered most down the stretch and in the playoffs, obviously able to push them into Super Bowl contention. And when you have one of the best safeties out there on the market, you obviously want to keep him happy and retain him because it's going to boost your defense up amazingly.
Yes.
You got to give Burrow the help. You got to give Jamar Chase, Boyd, Higgins, Mixon. I mean, the list goes on and on. They got a lot of young up and coming guys. They got to make a lot of people happy. They're gonna have to throw a lot of money around.
Yes.
We talked about the new stadium, new outdoor facility going to be built. New name for the facility. Right now, Cincinnati's all about the dollar signs, and it's good to see what Joe Burr has been able to do.
No
Shout
appendix.
out to you and your LSU boys down there. How we feeling for Cincinnati on the come up?
You want me to be truthful, or you want me to overhype it? Because I'm about to say like 20-1 because they lose to the Saints in the Super Bowl. But bare minimum 10 wins. That's the bare minimum it feels like with the Cincinnati team. Hopefully there's no hangover from that Super Bowl. Obviously, there shouldn't be because they didn't win. But sometimes teams make it there and then they just disappear off the radar. Look what happened to the Falcons.
I think that's what one of the stats that float around. Usually the Super Bowl loser doesn't make it back into the playoffs and stuff like that. Atlanta previously talked about Jacksonville. There's quite a couple. There's quite a couple instances. Ice says he wishes people would talk about Hendrickson and Hubbard more. People were saying Hubbard was doing his thing last season.
Hendrickson came from the Saints, homie.
For 23 sacks. Mamba here absolutely knows himself, Mr. Trey Hendrickson.
It was tough. It was tough losing him, but got to make room for people. He might not have had a season like that had he stayed with the Saints.
Right? Pretty much. Change of scenery is good for you.
Yes, he's very good to where it's like he could have been, next to Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport, but him going to be the guy with Cincinnati, he is the guy for Cincinnati. So it worked out.
That's sort of what happened to Hassan Reddick, who's now on the Eagles. Moved around, had a big season after leaving Arizona. Yes. And now he's just getting paid, really. Absolutely, it happened. Good for Cincinnati. Have a lot of pieces, like I said. Going to be interested to see what they do this season as they're just making all these changes that have years and years in the making. And Ice agrees with you. Super Bowl contenders on the low key, the Saints.
I agree.
Oh my!
We just need Jameis to stay healthy.
Jameis Winston, of course. We have We love Chris Olave. I absolutely love Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is looking back to stud Michael
He had a
Thomas
little bit of
and
a
all that
setback
stuff.
recently, though.
He
I think
did.
it was a hamstring
Alvin
potentially.
Kamara shouldn't be getting suspended this season, as we've seen. And that defense has been a good defense, defensive-minded coach. Dennis Allen taking over. Them Saints, man, is
Hey,
definitely going to be interesting. Like I said, we're going to be doing over-unders in the next
you
few weeks.
you mentioned in Alvin.
We'll be dropping.
I did a mock draft the other night, right?
Is he
I
dropping?
had
Or
Jonathan
is he just
Taylor
up?
and Alvin as my running backs. That
Nice.
sounds pretty fire, bro.
Nice. We got to get ready. Our home league, quote
Yeah,
unquote, more so our friends league is going to be firing up soon as we get ready. Some of these injuries are obviously not great.
tough.
In other news, we actually had talked about this and tossed it around and giggled about this. Urban Meyer is back on Big Noon Kickoff. The
Yeah,
Lambo kicking, booty scratching, adultery committing ass.
yeah.
Urban Myers is back on our television screens every Saturday. Big Noon Kickoff, college football. How are you feeling about this? Absolute hilarious. It was inevitable. I think we can all agree it's inevitable that there's no way he wasn't going to.
It's the mind. Been a coach for so long. Yes, he has all that controversy surrounding him with the NFL run, but dude's probably considered an all-time coach at the college level.
Of course.
I just can't wait to see Twitter. The first minute he's on the screen,
Just chilling
if I'm away,
around a bunch of college
I'm
girls.
immediately going to Twitter and seeing all the jokes because and the signs, how
The
they be
signs are gonna
having
be
fans around,
crazy.
with all the
Yeah.
every sign's gonna have to be vetted before it goes up.
It's gonna
You
be funny.
might have like Urban Meyer with like stripper poles going, like it's gonna be hilarious and I can't wait for it.
There's gonna be some
You
shit.
talk
Urban
about some
Meyer.
all-time writing right here. Urban Meyer back on TV for us right here.
Absolutely.
Does anybody ask him about the NFL?
I think it gets brought up at some point. I think someone will be like, "Oh, well,
He chuckles about it.
now that you've coached on the
Yeah.
NFL level, what is your thoughts between the NFL and college football?" It's so
Well,
going to be talked
don't
about.
kick your players.
Yeah.
Maybe try a little bit harder and not much different. Nah, not much different at all.
Listen, there is no Urban Meyer hate on this show. I swear to God, it is just so funny how everything has turned out
Hey,
for this poor
that man
man.
is savage for what he did. All right, everything he did, savagery.
He did his
across the
thing,
board,
man.
but
He did his thing. One more return to training camp, just scoping out the landscape of the quarterback situation. Freshly retired Ben Roethlisberger heads up to Pittsburgh Steelers camp,
of course.
just checking out how things are going. Apparently, he's looking good. Looks in good shape.
Enough to play.
I don't think so. God, no. He can't. It's over for Roethlisberger. That arm shot, the body shot, them legs is shot, body shot.
Yep.
His brain's probably shot at this point. He's took a lot of hits in his career.
You see, Brett Favre said he had like 1,000.
A billion fucking
how
concussions.
many you think Ben had?
A million if we're gonna fucking come on now. That is just ridiculous. But Ben Roethlisberger back in training camp, not in any official capacity, just checking out. Is Kenny Pickett on the come up? Kenny Pickett starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Gonna be interesting to see how that plays out.
Who gets Big Ben vote? Who does Big Ben say, I want to see him as our starter?
I want to say they're going to go with Pickett. Yeah. I think he'll go with Pickett. He was in the same building with Big Ben. Obviously, training just went one door over. We all know everything about that. And this is another cinema story in itself,
Could Pickett have a career? Well, I don't want to say a career. I'll say a similar start to his career like Big Ben. Because wasn't it Maddox who was starting over Big Ben, and then he went down with an injury, and then Big Ben came in and just took over.
But Ben won a Super Bowl really early, so I don't know about all that.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know about.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you have Mitchell or Mason starting, and then God forbid something happens, Kenny Pickett comes in, he's like, "This is mine," because preseason, because we'll talk about the Jags in a minute about preseason because I'm going to overreact like a muck. Kenny Pickett has looked nice. Game-winning drive, right?
Yep.
He started in like the second quarter, a little bit in the third, and then I'm assuming he's going to be the starter in their last game. So all three quarterbacks have started, played the middle of the game, and ended the game. Kenny Pickett has impressed me the most out of all three of them.
He's going to be the starter. And right now, you don't have time to fuck around in that division, if we're being honest.
Oh, God, no.
Deshaun's going to come back. This is probably a wasted season. Still super young. Still super talented. Lamar, no matter what happens, super young, super talented. Joe Burrow, super young, super talented.
Yep.
You don't have 2 or 3 years to figure out, all right, we're just not going to win this division for the next 10 to 15 years because one of these guys are always going to be in our way. You have to figure out right now, is this my franchise quarterback for the next decade to at least be able to compete in maybe it looks like the NFC East where they don't have a repeat winner because everyone just sucks. But it's the opposite. Everyone's just really good and beats each other every year and injuries playing out. If you're Pittsburgh, you have to figure it out now. The defense is prime. It's only going to get worse, as players start to leave and realize our quarterback stinks, our offense isn't good. Mike Tomlin will eventually leave out the back door at some point.
You think so?
Eventually, he's going to retire. He's not going to want to be there forever.
Yeah, I thought you were saying like he goes to a different team, but
I don't think so. But is there a chance that he might? I don't know. Is he going to want to be stuck in a 6, 7, 8-year rebuilding process if Kenny Pickett doesn't work out? You know what I mean?
He might.
So it's time to figure out now with these young quarterbacks. Another guy, prime example, Trey Lance, getting right up in there. We have to figure out if these 3 first-round picks we moved off of is worth it. Tua, Jalen Hurts. We got first-round picks on the come-up. There's a lot of quarterbacks on the come-up. You guys have all these weapons. It's time to see if you guys are set to compete with the Dax, with the Josh Allens. Mac Jones is another prime example. We got to see if that's ever even going to work out. We don't even have a lot of offensive weapons for the poor kid, but it's time to figure out. But nonetheless, before we wrap up the show, we're going to let Mamba take the floor here with his
Jaguars.
Jaguar overreactions for the Jacksonville Jaguars ahead of the next few weeks as we drop our over-unders and we start predicting what's going to happen out of the season. We'll have Coach of the Year. We'll have MVPs. We'll have all that prediction and more. It's going to be amazing. But Mamba, Jacksonville Jaguar, Super Bowl champions.
Oh, God. Do you know how crazy that would be, bro? Oh, my God. If they actually
Trevor
won the
Lawrence
Super Bowl this year. You're right. Oh, man. He has that jump like Joe Burrow. Hey, I mean, it's potentially, but, that's all just potential.
I mean, Ben Roethlisberger we just talked about. Quarterbacks that won it early, man.
The Jaguars, that offense, I'm not overreacting, obviously, but I am going to say Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, James Robinson, they might be viable in fantasy this year.
Ingram, Laviska Shenault.
We don't need to mention everything. He's going to drop a pass here or there. We all know it's going to happen.
Marvin Jones is still there.
Yeah, no, the Jaguars impressed me. The one thing I was saying last week was their red zone.
Yeah.
They didn't improve on the red zone at all, but they started converting on third downs. And if you can convert on third downs, you're going to get into the red zone more, which means you have more opportunities in the red zone to convert. So I will say Jacksonville is, I don't want to say a sleeper team to make the playoffs. Obviously, they're probably not going to make.
Hey, never know. Could they shock the division?
Yeah, there could be.
Could they shock the division? Could Tennessee and Tannehill flame out?
I think Colts.
Could Matt Ryan and the
Colts
Colts not look that good?
I think the Colts are probably the best team in that division right now.
Probably. They're solid right now. Solid.
I think maybe the Jaguars take
2?
one game away from the Titans this year. Maybe. They're not going to stop Derrick Henry because they don't know how to do that. No one really knows how to do that. But Jacksonville, for some reason, they really, really don't know how to stop Derrick Henry when he plays Jacksonville, bro.
Don't know how to stop anyone.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unless your name is Carson Wentz.
There you go, but that's probably more on Carson Wentz stopping himself. But Jacksonville.
Oh, it is.
17-0 because T-Law looks great in the preseason. There it is.
Mamba with some high hopes for the boys in Jacksonville.
Yo.
This season is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see how it pans out. Like I said, next week we'll go over the over-unders. We'll see how it looks coming in and out of preseason. Last year, if any, we had some hits, had some misses.
Oh, yeah.
We got some right, we got some wrong. We'll see how we do this year. We'll see how
you gonna pick the Giants this year?
Listen, I would have been tempted if Daniel Jones would have shown a little bit. I might have been like, "Oh, they ball over there." They still have amazing weapons. They got. I don't know. That team is different. They have a lot of weapons. I wish I had Kadarius Toney and Galladay and
so
Shepard
does Urban Meyer, bro.
All these fucking players. There's just so many different players. We'll see, but we'll stay locked in on that next week. NBA, we will proceed to keep coverage on. Very slow right now. Biggest domino essentially dropped with Kevin Durant. Little domino and Donovan Mitchell still left out and about. Kyrie, Westbrook, all that nonsense has died out. We'll see how that goes. Friday, we are officially back. Talk some wrestling. We got Worlds Collide getting contracts signed. We have Clash at the Castle fired up, and we have AEW's All Out, all slated on the same weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Our fantasy draft.
Ridiculous. Along with our fantasy draft, we have a unification title match tonight because they couldn't wait till All Out. Wrestling is going crazy. We have missed some time. A lot of things have happened. Really, on my end,
it's okay. They didn't need
we get back on track. Talk some wrestling. We'll have the preview show, and I think next weekend, next weekend will be the big preview show for all three. Massive changes. All Out. New trios titles will be crowned. Maybe new WWE champ, Universal Champion, NXT UK versus NXT 2.0 with NXT Europe on the horizon. All that and more on Friday is going to be a banger. Thank you to Nips on Ice for tuning in. Be here next week,
Nips.
And truly appreciate you tuning in. All that and more here on RGTP. Mamba, let the good folks know what they got to do.
Like, comment, share, subscribe, and notifications on. Thank you.
Have a good one.